a beautiful day. Don't you know it's a beautiful day?
This is The Thread.
What's up, Threadheads? A familiar face back in the house.
Hey there.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to be here.
You know, normally this time of year we're doing our Halloween show where we're dressed up in costumes having tons of fun.
And we're gonna have fun today, but we're also going to talk about something serious, something that affects a lot of us.
Yeah, not that Halloween type of fear, but another kind of fear that we all deal with, anxiety.
Recently, a local ministry called Fearless Women asked us to come and speak, and we talked about how we have learned how to deal with anxiety and how this show, The Thread, came to be. It's January 2013, and I am driving to work at Channel 4, and I just discovered a brand new radio station.
Welcome back to Joy FM. It's Prayer and Care Day. We're hanging out with Tim Ezel from Fox 2 News, and he's sharing about his struggles with alcoholism. Tim, tell me, what was the tipping point for you to get help? Well, you know, I just reached a point where I couldn't imagine living with or without alcohol, and I reached out to my uncle for help.
That can't be. That's not that Tim Ezel. No way.
Oh, yeah, Virginia, it's that Tim Ezel.
Wow, that's Tim Ezel? And then after that, Mike Matheny shared his testimony. And I'm thinking, holy cow, how did I not know about this? These well-known people in St. Louis are sharing their struggles because they know their experiences can help other people going through the same thing. So I got this great idea, and I decided that Tim Ezel needed to meet me because I had a big idea.
Hey, Virginia.
You're here. Oh my gosh, you don't understand. The Lord has spoken to me, and I know that we're supposed to work together, and I know we don't know each other.
Okay, time out. You see this? This is exactly what it was like. Oh, ugly cry, right? So, yeah, there may have actually been a few more tears.
He told me we were going to actually have a show together. I know. We don't know each other very well, and you're at Channel 2, and I'm at Channel 4. You don't understand. The Holy Spirit has spoken to me, and I know it's going to happen. I don't understand. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I poured my heart and soul out to that man, and he straight up told me, no, nada, not going to do it. Crush.
Time out. Okay, that's not history. That's her story. It's not exactly how it went down. I mean, I told her, hey, look, I'm at Channel 2, you're at Channel 4. I don't think they're gonna let us kind of collaborate on this thing. Great idea, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Time in.
Okay, so could you at least be my advisor?
Sure.
Freeze. Setting up the hook right there. You see what I did there? Yeah. Okay, so fast forward, year and a half later, Tim Ezel is giving his last live shot on Fox 2 News.
Thank you so much, St. Louis. What a privilege and honor it's been to be in your homes in the mornings for 16 years. You have blessed me in an amazing way. I won't say goodbye, just so long. Hello?
Saw your last live shot. Oh, this is so happening. You don't understand.
Okay, time out. Does anyone know the process of getting a restraining order? I'm just for future reference. Time in.
I'm serious. It's so happening. Okay, so fast forward 6 months, and I left Channel 4. Gotta tell Tim. Oh my gosh, he's gonna be so excited.
It's her again. Hi, Virginia.
So guess what?
What's that?
I left Channel 4. So you're free, I'm free, and we are totally doing this. I can't do it without you. It's happening. So happening.
Okay, time out. Okay, so obviously something's going on here. I mean, it's clear that this isn't just something that's in her head, it's in her heart. God's up to something. So, fast forward 3 more months, and we're meeting again in a coffee shop. I don't even drink coffee, I'm not allowed to have caffeine, but I keep showing up in these coffee shops. Time in.
Oh my goodness. So thankful that you're here. No, you don't understand, you gotta hear me out.
Okay, but just...
No, you don't understand, you gotta hear me out. Wait, no. This is gonna happen. And I know you're gonna be my great advisor, but I can't do this show without you. And I just out there. Are you in or are you out? Are you gonna do this or not?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, number one, breathe. Okay, just tissue. And yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, God spoke to me too. He said, let's do it.
We're gonna do it?
We're gonna do it.
You're saying yes?
Yes. Thread up, y'all.
Yes. I told you so. So maybe we should introduce ourselves.
Yes.
I'm Virginia, and I am a Southern girl from Alabama. Roll Tide.
I'm a Southern boy from Texas, born, thank you, born to 2 LSU grads. Go Tigers.
In 8th grade, my father experienced his first episode of mania and depression and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and our family was turned upside down.
When I was in 8th grade, my parents divorced, my father moved out of the house, and I walked away from my faith.
I began self-medicating. I didn't know how to handle these feelings, and I started to binge eat. And I became addicted to exercise, and I started to also deal with depression.
At that time in 8th grade, I began to medicate with alcohol. The first time I ever drank, I blacked out, and it became an ongoing pattern for me throughout my drinking career.
So I was so scared. My biggest fear was that people at school were gonna find out that I didn't have a perfect family like everybody else, that we were tainted by mental illness.
My biggest fear was the telephone. I was afraid that somebody was gonna call me and tell me what I did the night before that I had no recollection of, who I'd hurt, who I'd harmed.
My compulsive overeating went on for nearly 17 years. Untreated depression. I went to a counselor one time, and then 4 years after that, I went again, and I finally had a breakthrough.
My senior year at LSU, I finally hit a bottom. I woke up once again in a strange place with strange people, not remembering how I got there, and I just bottomed out. I couldn't imagine living with or without alcohol, so I called my uncle. My Uncle Andy, who just moved back to Baton Rouge from California, who had 2 years sobriety, and he took me to my first AA meeting. That was November 3rd, 1991.
2003, I was hired by Channel 4 to be a crime reporter and weekend news anchor, but quickly was turned into a feature reporter and dubbed the female Timmy Zell. I was only supposed to be in St. Louis for 3 years.
I got the job at Fox 2 here in St. Louis in 1998 as a feature reporter. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It was gonna be a stepping stone for me. After becoming the male Virginia Kerr, I was gonna move on, and I was gonna be the host of Ease Into the Night, a late night talk show with Timmy Zell.
Really?
Yeah, no, really, that was gonna happen. Yeah. And then these two people,
who were more alike than different, launched The Thread.
and that was the end of our anxiety.
Or maybe just the beginning.
So we launched The Thread, and again, Virginia was tenacious with this idea. An idea to have a television show that was all about shining a light on people doing amazing things in our community, celebrating it, and inviting others to be a part of it. And so, you want a recipe for anxiety? Here's one for you. Take two creative people who are used to being on a show and have them own a show. Have them do things like business plans that they know absolutely nothing about. And you've got anxiety.
Oh, throw in a little OCD and workaholism.
Yeah. And you've got a great recipe for anxiety.
And we were a little uncomfortable with each other's style. As you can see tonight, I don't have a script. And last time I was here, I think I had 15 pages. Because he doesn't do rundowns or scripts.
But we both handle anxiety in a very similar way. What do we call it, Virginia?
Going dark.
Yep. One of us would go dark. For Virginia, that meant cutting off all communication. You couldn't get a hold of her. You couldn't contact her in any way, shape, or form. That's when Virginia was going dark.
When Tim went dark, it was when you saw the happy, joyful, everybody loves Tim get really quiet and serious. I remember the first time it was really bad. We were on a shoot for our huge Christmas show, and we were interviewing all these people who had been blessed, and Tim's over in the corner being all serious. And I'm like, dude, you're dark. What's up with you? I think I got it out of him by the end of the day.
Yeah, we had to call each other out on it. But that's the first thing. Because what is our temptation to do in anxiety? Isolate. To withdraw. That's what leads to the depression. And why do we withdraw? Because we don't want anybody to know we got anxiety, right? I don't struggle with that.
We're the only people.
That's other people's problem, right?
Hold on. Hey, are my tennis shoes deductible?
Tim, what are you doing?
I got to get my taxes done, my investments, and I got to make a will.
Come on, I know just the place. Come on. You are going to love Securus' Circle of Advisors. They can help you with your tax advice, your legal needs, your investments, and your insurance.
Awesome.
Tim, meet your Circle of Advisors.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Well, we did tell you to bring everything.
Securus Circle of Advisors, helping people build and secure their vision of retirement.
Welcome back to a special edition of The Thread where we're sharing with you a presentation Virginia and I recently did on anxiety and the tendency we have to isolate.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
Oh, yeah. Rule number one, do not isolate. Do not isolate. If you're feeling anxious, do not isolate. Gather yourself around people.
Yeah.
And we learned that the hard way.
And that's the whole premise of this show. Because we know people are at home struggling with stuff, sitting alone, watching television. And the idea is if we can show them someone on our show who may have a similar situation that they were able to overcome, and now they're using that experience to pay it forward and help other people, then maybe that someone watching our show all by themselves, himself, herself, will see hope in their situation, and they'll reach out to someone because we can't do it by ourselves.
The big myth is that technology has connected us, when in reality it's disconnected us. I mean, we're not present with the people around us when we're like this, right? We're not, there's no good communication going on. Siri talking to me again. That's a whole nother problem. Christy, technology and me, Christy can tell you all about that. But yeah, we disconnect. We disconnect from people. And then we start letting, in addition to those negative self-talk voices, what do? We let people on social media speak into our lives. We let people who have absolutely no right to speak into our lives, we give them access and authority because they're saying it on social media.
These are total strangers in many cases that you're so worried about what they think of you that you're living in fear and isolation because you're paralyzed by it. And the truth is, on social media, you're getting to watch everybody's highlight reel. You're comparing your backyard to their front yard. It's not real. They're not showing you everything. And you're getting sucked in by these total strangers, and you're not connecting with the people that are actually in your life, your real friends, your real family.
This summer, I got to go on vacation with my family, and for the first time in a couple years, and really plug into them. And I had quiet time in the morning. I was spent in Joshua. And if you remember, when Moses dies, Joshua's the guy now. And they're like, all right, Joshua, you're going to lead him into the promised land. And God tells him, here's how you're going to do it. You're going to go tell the priest to go get the Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ark of the Covenant is the presence of God in their midst, right? That represents God amongst them. So he says, go tell the priest to go get the Ark of the Covenant and step into the Jordan River. Do what? Do what? Now, it says several times around that passage, it reminds you. Now, remember, this is the time when the Jordan was overflowing its banks. This is a river, not a lake, right? There's moving water, and it's swift, and they're to step in. That is something right there, and we are called to step into things. Virginia and I were called to step into the challenge of this show. That was a calling. Step in, right? But then listen to the rest of the instructions. He also says, tell them to step in and to be still in the water. Step in and rest in the waters. I don't know about you, but my temptation when I step in is to get busy. My temptation is, I got to do something. This water's not going to stop by itself, right? Right? I need to put some rocks over here to make a little dam, or get the beavers to help me out over here or something. But I got to do something to make this happen. No, rest in the waters. And then I began to think about that passage over and over, and I thought, where are their hands? Their hands are on the Ark of the Covenant. Their hands are on God. Again, my temptation and anxiety is, hey, can you hold this for me? I know I got to do this. I know I got to grab. I know I need this job that's going to help me out, or I need this relationship, or I need this drug that's going to make me better. I need something else. It's going to be God and this, Jesus and that. And we take our hands off of God. But what happened? They stepped into the water. They stood still with their hands firmly on the Ark of the Covenant, on the presence of God in their midst, and the water stopped, and they walked across on dry land into the promised land. End of story. Not yet. Because before they get across, they say, hold up. All the tribes get a stone. Get a stone out of the river here. And we're going to pile them up. So we can point to this pile, this memorial, and say, this is what God did for us today. So we can tell our children what God did for us today. So when we're going forward and we face that next challenge, we can say, God's faithfulness here is proof that he's going to be faithful now and he's going to be faithful in the future. And it's not about what I can do to get it done. At some point, we've got to realize that we're not in control of everything. How many times do we try to take control of things that are completely out of our control?
So true. And the stones of remembrance for me was kind of us telling that story because we were able to pinpoint where God was. Even when it came down to him putting the desire to be on TV at the age of 11 years old. And at one time at Channel 4, I was shifted to a different department. I was put in the sales department, and I got sales experience with television. That's how we got our initial sponsors. But I'm able to look back and see all the things that I thought were disappointments because I wanted a job in Nashville, but I got a job in St. Louis. But I saw what he was doing. Tim wasn't staying in St. Louis. We were on competing TV stations. We were not friends. We saw each other on a couple live shots. We didn't talk. He was weird.
Okay, I just dressed weird. Maybe.
Fast forward, I like to describe him as like my imaginary friend come to life. But I look back and I see the hardships. I mean, I literally thought that I was just doomed to be sad. This was my life. Everybody else got to have a good one. I didn't. I didn't know why. I was cursed with a bipolar father, and then I got depression, and my sister did, and my brother did, and this is the happy family we had. But I look back and I realized, no, God was there the whole time. I just wasn't listening to him. But when it got really ugly, he was still right there, never went anywhere. And I saw that he was showing me how I could use this.
It's homecoming at Art Van Furniture, and it's so good to come home and make new memories with family and friends. This weekend, save with 20% off the sale price on all furniture and mattresses and 0% interest for 20 months. Save on thousands of items like sofas and dining tables, just $3.99. Queen beds and 5-piece dining sets, only $3.19. It's homecoming at Art Van Furniture. Your home, your way.
See it all at artvan.com/St. Louis.
Welcome back. You know, we're sharing this presentation Virginia and I recently did on anxiety, and the things, people, and places that cause anxiety can actually help others down the road.
There's purpose in your pain, and when you're able to identify those experiences and those struggles and see how they can help other people, it's a beautiful thing.
No doubt.
Look at your past. See how God has led you to where you are. He's preparing you for something. Something that I like to think of is that God gives us talent, he gives us passion, and he gives us experiences. Those are our gifts to give to the world. But if we're so locked up in isolation and fear, we can't honor that. We can't honor our Creator, and we cannot serve our purpose. You've got bigger things ahead because God has bigger plans for you. He wants to use you.
Amen. Amen. And here's the deal. How can we keep our hands on God if we're not near him? Right? I can keep my hands on Virginia if I'm here, but if I'm over here, it's going to be hard to do. We have to spend time with him. People say, well, Jesus went away on his own all the time. Yeah, to go on the mountain and be with God so he could get some strength to deal with the crazies he was dealing with. He's like, I got to go to the mountain. Dad, they crazy. Peter, if he puts his foot in his mouth one more time, God. I mean, really. But he went and spent time with the Father. And that's what we have to spend time with him. We have to get alone. And here's the thing, and Christy and I talked about this. How many of you like silence? Yeah, very few hands, right? We live in a culture where it's silence. I got to fill up that space with something. I got to do something. If we're like, I just want some peace in my life. Then we get in, we're like, I got to do something. This is too quiet, right? We got to be able to get quiet. We got to be listening to that still small voice when he's speaking to us. and not tuning our ear into the self-talk or the negative talk that's coming through social media, what others are saying about our lives who don't have authority to speak into our lives. We gotta tune our voice to the one voice that we know is there for us, who is for us, not against us. Here's the other point. Even good things become idols when we put them above God. Even good things, like even my relationship, if I make it the all be all, or this job, or my ministry, or my show, right? If I white knuckle it into the ground, what good is it? I have to give it to God and let Him control it. And that's something we've had to learn as well. That it's not, we can't white knuckle things to the times that this show has ebbed and flowed. It's ebbed when we took control, and it's flowed when God took control, when we got our hands off. Jesus, take the wheel.
I told you not to sing, you promised.
I can't. So, I told you I was going to sing, didn't I? All right. But yes, when we try to take control of it, and we think we're in control of so many things, when we're in control of very, very little.
We have to be still. And not just be still so we can hear God and spend time with Him, but so that we can be with the people that we were meant to serve. And if we're saying yes to so many things, even if they're ministry related, yes, and we're not consulting with God first, we're gonna be so stretched and so strung out that we won't be able to take care of the very people that were put in our lives for us to take care of. And since we've got couples here tonight, you have got to stay connected with your spouse. I did a little exercise this weekend with my husband, and I just asked him 3 questions. And I said, I read the other day that this couple does this every month. It's their month-iversary. And they just check in with each other. They might do it after the kids go to bed, or they go on a date night. And they just hang out and ask these 3 questions. What's the one thing I can do in the next 30 days to help you, to be a better spouse to you? Next question is, what's the one thing that you were worried about the most the last 30 days? And the third one is, what is the thing that you are most grateful for from the last 30 days? It's 3 simple questions, and it gets y'all talking, and it also exposes your major concerns, your anxieties. Because oftentimes we've got people living in the house and we're still in isolation. You've got to tap into that relationship. That's what they're there for.
The gods, the false gods of this world are dying. You can hear the death march. And people are recognizing it. And these things that they've put their trust in, once they fail them, depression sets in. Because this was going to save me. This was going to be it. Why is there such a fascination with zombies these days? There's a zombie show on every 30 minutes, right? Well, because we're not dead on the outside, but we're dead on the inside. Once those things fail us and we've got no life inside us, we're just going through the motions. That's depression. That's anxiety. And God is calling you away from that. 1 Peter 5, verse 6. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, so at the proper time He may exalt you. It's going to happen. Casting all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. He cares for you. He loves you beyond your wildest dreams, and He doesn't want you carrying that burden. He wants you to lay it down. And He wants you to recognize you can't handle it. You can't carry that, and we're never meant to. Give it to me. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
When you're in that dark, deep depression, that white noise, those lies, that tape you're in and over in your head, it gets so loud, you get so confused. Everything is complicated, everything is overwhelming, including the relationships. So if you're in that deep, dark place, or you know somebody who is, don't wait for them to call out and check in. You check in on them. If you're the person, say a prayer, call a stranger if you don't want to call a friend, talk to somebody. You've got to get around people. You're not going to want to do it. I to this day sometimes don't want to go to big crowds because we're not up here telling you that we don't have fear and anxiety anymore. We're up here telling you that we've experienced it and we get it. And this is how we are sharing our experience to help other people overcome theirs. And you've got that same gift, but it starts with one conversation.
Men and women both. this whole message tonight, this whole Fearless Women movement, it's countercultural, all right? The world says if it is to be, it's up to me. You need to be able to take this. Do not, this is weakness. And this is freedom. And submitting to God, authority. How free was I when I was walking on my own and chained to my addiction? Scared of the phone. How much freedom was I experiencing then? None. He's not calling us to oppression. He's calling us to freedom. He's calling to free us up because we're more free with him than we ever are away from him.
God's calling you to freedom, not to anxiety. He wants you to lay that burden down because you were never built to carry it.
And hopefully us sharing our story today helped you to identify with us and know that we still deal with anxiety and fear. It's just that now that we've talked it out, we can identify when the other one is going dark, and we know not to isolate ourselves.
Yeah, find someone you can share it with. And I hope you've enjoyed us sharing some of this with you in this special presentation of The Thread. Y'all have a great weekend.